He knows what's up. He's looking to turn Kazva into a little Anakin. We had to check out my boy Beastie. I know he's live right now. This game is live. Of course, you'll be able to bounce back and forth because you could probably actually watch his perspective and then watch this one and kind of see like what his takes were as the time goes on. But I thought it'd be cool to check them out anyway. It is, of course, Beastie versus Kazva. No, sorry, let me say that correctly. It is Zumbitsusa versus Kazva. Let's go. Straight in to some good old Lippany, baby. And this Lippany generation is actually something else. The double layer mountain? What? Wait, no, oh no, okay. I think this is your bait mountain. It is kind of a double layer, but it is kind of not as well. Let's not get too distracted by this though, because we've got to talk about this matchup, right? HRE versus English, a battle between two top 20 players. BCQT, of course, on the Zoom Bisusa account, is currently 12th in the world. And this, by the way, folks, this guy right here, he's #1 in the world as well. The BCQT's main is #1. He decided he needed more accounts in the top 100. Top 10, in fact, as BCQT's secondary. This one is just outside of that. And Kazva is not trailing far behind him. This is your rank 12th, and this is your rank 13th. Kazva is, in fact, only 6 rating behind him on the rank leaderboard. So this will be the difference that could push Kazva up into the top 10, actually. I think you get about 25 points per win, if I recall correctly. Or was it 30? Either number would actually put him above Puppy Paw, which would give him a top 10 spot. And I'm glad to see Kazva sticking with it, man. I was bummed out when we saw like how the Golden League played out. I was worried because, you know, it seemed like most people were feeling he might just retire and give up and, you know, go to the 9-to-5 jobs and be done with esports. But I'm glad when I saw the announcement, he's like, screw, well, not screw AOE2, but he's like, yeah, I'm done with AOE2. I'm full-time in AOE4. I think this is the choice a lot of other players are going to have to make as time goes on. You just can't continue to play both fields. It realistically doesn't make sense. You've got people like BC who are literally like full-time grinding this. Marine Lord as well. Like, you've literally got active StarCraft players that are considered to be some of the top of the game that have fully invested in this. I don't think you can afford to dip your toe in multiple pools. You're reaching a point now where you have to make a stand and make a choice. And Kazva will be looking to make his stand here. I feel like the last few times we've watched BC versus Kazva, it has been a little bit memey, a little bit meany from BC towards Kazva. Hopefully he can actually strike out and find some vengeance here in this HRE versus English matchup. Gonna be curious to see what type of build the HRE player especially picks up against his opponent here. Oh, it's going to be the Mindwork Palace. Are we going to get some of the aggression? I'm wondering here. That would be quite the ballsy play up against the English, but it's actually not as bad as you'd think. The reason being is, like, although the English have this powerful unit in the Field Age and Lombos, the thing that is your power as the HRE is numbers, right? It's the numbers game. Not only can you get more resource, but with that resource you can build more production builds and push more units. And also, speaking of other numbers, you can get at a discount with this building, especially the marching drill is giving you the number advantage on movement speed. So there's actually a lot of value in this matchup if Kaz was intending to drag a Feudal Age timing and go all out aggressive. Issue, however, is building this Mindwork Palace. It has already been scouted, so BC should make the necessary adjustments. Is already on his way up with the Council Hall. Didn't even stop off for the farm, so no intent to play a long Dark Age into strong Feudal. Seemed like he's anticipating some sort of aggression or was wanting to be aggressive himself. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this Mindwork Palace, by the way. I've talked about this in the past, but I feel like Arkan Chapel has a deceptive value to it. It's not that it's bad by any measurement. Like, it's a very useful structure, especially when you have an open field area around it for loads of farms. But realistically, like, with a lot of these builds, if you're playing into any sort of combat build with the prelates like buffing people, or you're trying to play in towards Regnitz Cathedral, realistically, you're going to have at least 2 prelates around your Castle Age timing, if not 3. At which stage you already have enough prelates to actually buff your entire economy when they're not away from home picking up relics. So the alternative is to say, okay, if I'm going to have a decent amount of prelates anyway to buff my lines, is it not better value to have a Mindwork Palace that not only gets me my tech advantages quicker, but also gets them 30% cheaper? A detail that matters a lot as the game goes later, because remember, although the techs at the beginning are going to be pretty dirt cheap, and whoop-de-doo, I save maybe like 50 to 100 resource, that's not the case on the late game tech savings, right? When you go into the Imperial Age, you're paying 1,000 resource per tech up, meaning you're saving 300 resource. It adds up fast. And it can give you the leg up over your opponent as well, because you have to think about the way you can redirect that, right? If I'm able to afford my melee defense upgrade, and then I'm also with the extra savings, I can start adding that towards unit upgrades. I should notably be ahead of my opponent if we both arrive in Imperial on similar standings. But I definitely like that the research rate got added in. I think this was the thing that was missing. It sucked before because realistically, this didn't feel like a tier 2 landmark, or rather it did, but it didn't. It felt like a tier 2 in terms of what it's doing for you, but it felt dog tier in terms of the timing you got it. Because realistically, you didn't really need 30% savings, 25% at one point, of this level, or this caliber at this stage in the game. It wasn't making enough difference. I especially love this now for marching drills, though. I think this is much better for marching drills. Before, it was a frustrating tech, not only because of the timing it took to research it, but also because of the resource cost. But now it's viable, and I think that's important for these early timings with aggression. And, oh, the only thing aggressive here is towards the wildlife. As Kazva's going for the secondary TC build that we've been seeing boom up in popularity, allowing the HRE to boom up economically early. Question is, what Zumbi Tsusa, aka Beastie, is going to do to address this. He's on the move with the Lombos now. First Outpost going up. An Outpost defensively placed by Kazva. I like this move. Usually one of the first things that English players look to do is cut off your wood. The reason that you do this, by the way, is because if your opponent doesn't have wood, they can't build the counters, right? They can't get Outposts up afterwards. They can't get military infrastructure up so they can actually build a unit to counter you. And that's why we usually see it happen. Also, like, it's static and somewhat predictable. And the way that you'd, like, wrap in on these tree lines, it naturally hides your approach a lot of the time. But cool move. And Kazva now walling on the west side as well to ensure there's no wraparound. Means the only option now for BC is to go to the northwest. However, this is condensed. There's no way in. I feel like Kazva's played this opening really well. And it's going to be uncomfortable for BC to find a way to breach. In fact, he needs to chop that tree. Oh, you see the extra walls going down. This is the problem, actually. If you can't snipe the villager, he's just going to chop. And he'll still get in. It is dangerous, though. So you do need to be a little bit careful. I love the delay that's being forced here. Like, Kazva is buying a decent amount of time. And we should start to see military infrastructure soon. He needs to grab the wood, though. And that's what he was missing. This pull of so many villagers did get the walls up fast. But it meant that he wasn't already now at a stage where he'd be producing a few man-at-arms, for example, to push this away. And that means because you haven't got even one man-at-arms, instead now the outpost is going to go up. I think maybe another outpost coming out. Should stay for a while, but realistically, you want to start prepping a second wood line. Concern is it's so far away, right? Like, it's not easy to access this without worrying about getting sniped. And, oh, Beastie. Dude's been doing a rewatch of the Star Wars recently. He knows what's up. He's looking to turn Kazva into a little Anakin. This outpost network with Lombos on the high ground as well. I mean, if he moves a few Lombos up, he'll be able to insta-snipe down villagers maybe before Kazva can respond. In fact, the high-value target is the Prelate. Prelates cost 100 gold. They take the same amount of time to produce as a villager. If he moves 4 Lombomen in range, it might be tight. Like, 76 health, I feel like it's a bit hard to get through that fast enough. But if Kazva's distracted, it could be really good. What I'd love to see BC do is find a way of pressuring on the southern front, draw attention there, and when Kazva's not looking, strike here in the north. But it looks like for now, BC's playing patience because he wants to get additional outpost networks up before he reveals what he's done. And this is the difference between, like, you know, me, or like even like your top 1% or whatever, and people like Beastie. Like, a lot of us would have probably looked to pepper him from the high ground already. Instead, he waits the Arislit's upgrade to come out. He moves the Lombos around to the south, and he's already shutting down a lot of Kazva's eco. And that Prelate now is quite easily snipeable, in fact, having only 26 health left. And remember, losing those Prelates is a big deal. There's no way to get that Holy Inspiration buff without having them exposed. This is why Kazva also goes in the secondary TC, by the way. Because he sacrificed the Ark and Chapel efficiency early on, he needed to bolster his eco a different way. So what does he do? Gets second town center, boosts the villager count, knows that he's playing up against the English, and there's no way in hell, especially with Lombo showing like this, that they're going for a second one themselves. Heal's coming out, but the Prelate, you can't heal yourself. You can't even heal the villager fast enough. And that should be a Prelate dead, so that ends up being 150 resource sink loss. Actually made that 200 lost for Kazva, and he didn't get the outpost up. Big deal here, and look what the Lombo can now do. My concern, Kazva still has not built any military infrastructure. He's relying solely on outpost to protect him. Reason this is bad is because all it takes is a blacksmith and a cheeky bit of research, and BC can address that as well. More outposts going down. Kazva, I mean, this is starting to feel like he's the prisoner. And Beastie, well, he won't even allow recreational time in his prison. Now the second group of longbows. And this is the problem when you don't play any military like Kaz was doing. Your opponent can actually get a lot of additional value because he doesn't have to critical mass longbows. He just moves out in small groups. Looks like one of those small groups is going to take a few casualties here. Just trying to snipe where he can. Not worth it to do this. I think you just have to accept this gold is being gathered. Right now, you just have a good like restraint on Kazva, right? He has got some resources, but you have to think about the defensive investments here. Right? Like, he isn't actually expanding out. He has very condensed resources. He will tap them fast, yes. But unless he does something with them quickly, you should be able to fall back for good timings. In fact, I think that is what BC's intent is. In fact, when you look at the food and gold, he's almost there. He'll be able to reach Castle Age before Kazva does. And the issue I have with what Kazva's doing in this game is once he reaches Castle Age, what's his advantage? Like, what's the edge you're looking for here? Do you even have one? You could maybe go Burgrave, but are you going to have enough resources to fully use the Burgrave? You could go Radius Cathedral. I expect you to, but where are you getting relics? You maybe grab one here and that's it. And even that one might be contested by a few Lombos if he pushes a few new ones out. Like, realistically, you're not getting any further out on the map right now. It feels like you need military soon. In fact, that's kind of the puzzling part about this build to me. It's like, Kazva, I'm starting to now feel like, was it even worth the Minework Palace? I feel like you need to find some value for the Minework Palace. You have to treat this as similarly you would any sort of transition you see high-level pros make. A lot of high-level pros, when they make an investment or choice, is double-pronged value. I'm countering something you're doing, I'm getting something else out of it. The issue with Minework Palace, with the way that it's been selected by Kazva, is Kazva's gone for this Minework Palace, but it's not really doing anything at all. He's not getting double whammy value. You can see he's now going into these tech ups, but it feels kind of haphazard. And now it's going to be the Burgrave Pass. We know that Kazva likes to do this. We've seen him actually do a lot of this, usually the Arkan Chapel, but the logic is that he wants to push a lot of military at the beginning of Castle and simply rely on outposts to stockpile gold from these relics. So what he should be trying to do is breach out fast, then move a villager with prelates out to quickly just yoink and doink these relics in each of the outposts where they stand. My concern, however, is the numbers are increasing. Oh my. Hello, Beastie. No need for a secondary TC, he says. Instead, he moves forward for the White Tower. He's building up quite the encampment right next to Kazva's base. Let's see what he can do with it. Kazva, in the meantime, completes his tech up. Instantly looks to make sure he's teched up on the man-at-arms front. And instantly queues up 5-man arm. Now, of course, the Burgrave functioning like 5 racks means that it's going to take him a mere 20 seconds to get those 5 online. And then they should be able to start torching down and getting a little bit of wiggle room. My concern, however, is now what BC is doing here. If he has enough surplus longbowmen ready to be upgraded, in conjunction with access to any unit type of his choosing, probably thinking maybe some sort of siege could be good, like a trebuchet, this could be quite problematic for Kazva. And I wonder if maybe even BC considers going back for a secondary TC eventually. Looks like that is not the intent right now. 0 people working on stone. I would have loved to have seen it, though. Maybe he just feels a little bit too greedy. He still feels like he's on the clock. Know that he doesn't have the info that we necessarily do. Like, he sees the Burgrave Palace, but he doesn't know if anything else has been built at the back. There you go. Tech up complete. And it's going to be the trebuchet instantly being pushed out by Beastie. Probably look to save up for the Lombo upgrade next. Has a decent amount in the field. I think he's got, what, 7? Still? Oh, really? There they are. 8. And now this can be turned into a full base. This is the nice thing, actually. He pulled his wood line, right? I feel like he is a little bit over-calibrated into wood right now. And yeah, that's why we see the shift back in base. You can see he peels off 8 villages to go set up on the farms. Understandable in the situation. Like, you just want to make sure you're exploiting the value of these villages on the front. This is what we talked about earlier, right? Like, when you do something, get a secondary value. Yes, he wanted this forward landmark, but afterwards, you didn't see him running back to base. Instead, he turns this into an eco point as well. Much needed eco as well now that he's going to those trebs. It can be a little bit problematic up against the HRE just because of emergency repairs. But the nice thing is because you have the attack speed aura coming out from the ring and bells, you are going to be able to quickly just snipe out these buildings. at a rate that should exceed the repair rate. Like when you go up to 3 or 4 trebs, I think that's when Casva has to fight. He doesn't have a choice anymore. And that's why I love this white tower. This white tower with an outpost crawling is actually phenomenal at BC, because it's very difficult for Casva to answer with just melee units, which is all he has because he went for a Burgrave Palace. So he can't even go anti-siege. He can't go into any sort of ranged battalion of his own. And also wood is becoming a limiting factor. Right? Like, he can't really afford to go hard on the wood. He needs to balance food and gold as well to keep the man-at-arms push possible. And it means that we are going to see him struggling in the coming minutes. Second treb. Looking to up that struggle. Casva, you just have nowhere to run. Textiles at least makes your villages chunky, but being chunky doesn't really help when you can't even torch these outposts. You'd have to run round and up to them, and you don't have easy access anyway. Trebs, however, have easy access to your primary TC. E-repairs already used, and a third Treb coming out soon could be enough to actually outdo the E-repair rates. Luckily for Casva, right now that's not the case. Just the Springwood emplacements. Might be unlucky for him soon. Nice wrap with the man-at-arms. However, Veteran Longbowman and the TC Fire are waiting to greet you. Remember, the English Town Center fires double the arrows, so these boys are about to get peppered like pigs. Well, slaughtered like pigs, that's for sure. It's not even easy to go after the villagers because they can turn onto you as well. Remember, they were able to fire with their arrows as well. So overall, just a frustrating situation. Casva, this small vanguard, not able to milk the value he's looking for. And while that's happening, BC sees now the opportunity to queue up the third Treb. In fact, he can even, like, he can actually just be targeting out the farms. I actually like the idea of targeting farms here. These are 75 wood investments, each and every single one of them. Like, they're not cheap. And they die in one hit, so you can't even repair them. This is actually a very big deal because it actually bleeds Casva's food eco, but then he has to replace them for another 75 wood. Springwood moving in, but yeah, good luck with that. You don't even have to acknowledge him. That's the best part about this. Lombos are going to start to pepper on the Springwood. Springwood is going to be traded out for a villager. A good trade coming out for Beastie. Now, he is only 1 TC, but it's kind of a whoop-de-doo for him right now. He's still meeting his timings. Like, his win condition is in the next 5 minutes, and he's on course for it right now. The concern is what Kaz is going to do. Like, he went for double siege workshop here. I'm a little bit worried about this situation, folks. I mean, it's the Springwood upgrade as well. The attack range coming out. The upgrades. This is the worry. Beastie, the moment he got this first outpost up outside of the base, it mattered so much. He didn't go for the arrow slits. He's got a full Springwood upgrade in that. So 60 damage per shot, adding up quickly onto the anti-siege that Kaz was trying to push. The trebuchets firing from far too far away at 16 tile range means you'll always be exposed to the outpost. The only good side, at least Kaz stopped the secondary outpost going up. Emergency repairs is coming off cooldown soon. Casva holding on for the moment, but I feel like once this goes up to 4 trebs, it's honestly, curtain's closed. It's not a situation you can hold on in. In fact, he's already starting to crumble. Look at how heavy the damage is coming out here. You can heal 3,000 health, but you can see in the numbers right now, you're not going to heal to full. And remember, even though you'll be healing 3,000 health, you're still taking damage at regular intervals here. Taking 550 damage every 10 seconds from each of these. That's why it's on fire. Ready to crumble. Casva, he doesn't even use the emergency repairs for it. I think he's forgotten it exists. That's a mistake there. Down. Out for the count there. So no longer do you have the secondary TC functionality. You just got 1 producer villages now. Also, landmarks fairly condensed. You do need to worry about that as well. Springwood numbers are concerning here. You've got 4 of them in the field, but you don't have a way of dealing with the Lombos. Lombos pursuing. Not able to deal with the Springwood, though. Will be forced to back away now. And this might be the point where BC considers a transition. It could be that he just also opts to go harder into Lombos with Trebs to assist. But I feel like you would benefit from having something to quickly rush in and burn the Springwoods. Let's see if he goes to that switcheroo, though. I think right now he's just trying to lay his base, make sure he doesn't get raided into, and just keep the Trebs numbers increasing. Casva, his numbers are increasing as well. A decent amount of man-at-arms coming out, but there's still a concern about what you do about the White Tower. Trebs are slowly working upon it, but remember, there's a lot of villages here that can insta-repair it. That means you shouldn't be able to get for this landmark for free. In fact, yeah, there's the pull straight away. Villagers across, hammers out. I'll be going up to full again. Trebs, is he going to start targeting? Yeah, he's looking for it. Springwoods able to sidestep, and this is where Casva has to be on his toes constantly, diving, weaving, dancing for Beastie. Trebs. You just switch over on the other Trebs now. No, instead you suppress the TC. It's never going back up. Stop trying to get greed. Goddamn HRE players, they will just care about one thing. How do I get more resource? How about how you spend more resource on both sides? Looks like the landmark did go down, so no save coming out from Beastie. He sacrifices the white tower. And this is big. Casva can move out now. For the first time in what feels like a long time, he can actually march into the midfield, and he can make sure that Beastie never gets back here to set up a base again. However, with a Lombo's position like this, I feel like I'm watching an episode of Cossacks, where the stupid horsemen can just not get on top of any musket units. As these range battalion, they're going to pick apart a few man-at-arms, and there's no way you can target him. He does need to re-wall here quick, though. Beastie gets it up just in time. You have to torch through this if you want to come and play. One spring inside. Seems like it's good value for Casva. How many is he going to lose to get inside, though? That's the concern, because the palisade isn't going down quick. You still have to worry about the villagers repairing. Instead, he runs towards Beastie's base, realizing how futile it is. However, now the Lombos can turn onto the springers if they want and snipe them out. And if Casva doesn't pull villagers, he's actually just going to lose a few. Looks like instead, Beastie is going to retreat away. Leaves one springer behind to wave at the enemy. Oh, what, Beastie? What? Casva, come on! He finally turns for it. That was a freebie. That should not have happened there. So Beastie, his spring pays for itself. But he does have to retreat away. And it looks like Beastie was trying to grab the relics, but he only just started pushing for it, so hasn't even found value out of this monk yet. Lombos will be able to pepper down the man-at-arms, though. A lot of them squishy on low alpha at this stage. And that should get rid of the Vanguard. My concern here is that Beastie didn't really hit his timings. It felt like he was going for these relics, and he was hoping to hold on the front line for 2 to 3 more minutes. So without that realization of your full value, like, do you now have to go for a secondary TC to catch up? I think the answer is yes here. In fact, we can see the stone being saved up. This could be a secondary TC, it could be a keep. I'm a bigger fan of a TC in this situation, especially considering what Beastie's about to do. He's wheeling the Trebs in. And remember, this TC is very squishy. 2400 HP. In fact, because the arrow slits this whole time, it's down to 1800 already, meaning you'll only need 2 rounds of fire to take it out. The question is whether Kaz will respond quick enough. If he's distracted, he might not get the emergency repairs off, and if he doesn't, that's a problem. Oh, it's already on fire. I don't think the emergency repairs are going to be quick enough. It'll be too late anyway. Even if he taps the hammer now, that's just going to be the TC down. So Kazva, as soon as he gets the primary up, he loses the secondary. And it means he can't continue to scale his eco at dominant rate over that of Beastie. And Beastie now in a situation where if he can get some relics, if he can maybe go for a secondary TC, he is going to boom. Prelates shuffling out here. These Trebs on the high ground, this was so smart by Beastie. And it's frustrating as well because this issue, this pressure remains, right? Kazva's not able to freely extend to the west side of his base. He did go east, though. He got a secondary TC down over here now. Also collected onto the stones, so it looks like his intent is to drop some forward keeps, try to box Beastie in. Question is whether Beastie will allow that. Has gone to the man-at-arms now. Remember, you do get the armor-clad upgrade, meaning your boys become incredibly chunky. Although I would still give a slight edge over to the HRE here in the melee-on-melee with man-at-arms, as they do get the unique upgrades that increase their damage against heavy. Damage overall. Not to mention marching drills, right? Like, you can kind of dictate the flow a little bit better than these very chunky but slow man-at-arms that the English produce. Lombo count looking healthy. Springers are going to wheel back just in time. That could have been problematic. I think they were looking for the Trebs, but Beastie's quick to respond with the force. And he's raiding around the sides, so he's going to be frustrating on multiple fronts right now. However, is he sacrificing too much in the center here? Lombo's trying to start step back, but he has no front line, and that is a problem because you're about to be boxed up against the tree line here. Trebs need to leave soon. Springers are wheeling towards them. Trebuchet still trying to target out, but they're firing on the Palisade Gate. And that means he's going to lose 1 or 2 of them. He's not microing him away, but Beastie, buddy, but Beastie, bro. This is the problem. These cost a lot. These cost a lot. Instead, he just tries to trade out the Springles. It's going to be too little too late. Doesn't even get one of them before going down. So 3 Trebs dead. Lombo's in full retreat. And the man-at-arms army, if you don't hold them here, they're going to flood into your eco and split up to look for clues. Well, if you split up to look for blues, and picking them off is going to take so long as well. We mentioned how chunky the English man-at-arms are, but really, the HRE's ones are no stranger to that either. With the 2 missile resistance added on from the blacksmith upgrades, it means he can take a hell of a lot of fire as he dives in here. Trebs now wheeling forward for Kazva as he gets his own out into the field. And also now banking up the relics, pulling them back towards his base. Remember, he can actually bank them inside the outpost. It doesn't even need the monastery. Push in. BC holding his opponent at bait for the moment, but Springles is still a problem. Trebuchets are going to be a problem soon. Man-at-Arms line is thin, though, so BC sees an opportunity to trade out some siege. After losing his Trebuchets, he'll be happy to find this. And it looks like Kazva's not even trying to wheel him away. What? What is going on in this game? I mean, I know Siege got nerfed, but mainly the Mangonel got nerfed. These things are still pricey, folks. I would advise protecting him, especially against slow-moving targets you can maybe wheel away from. Kazva will back up for the moment. Gives access to the Trebuchets onto the racks, and these racks, pricey, 150 wood each. Also stops the rate at which BC can reproduce his main line. Gives the edge back over to Kazva, as Kazva is looking to push forward with more Man-at-Arms. Remember the Burgrave Palace? Giving a lot of push out here, as effective as 5 racks. And apparently that's not good enough. So Kazva is looking to set up additional racks on the front line. And it's just going to be a hard push with Man-at-Arms to push his opponent away. Treb, one being sniped out, but not enough Man-at-Arms left over to take any more, I think. Maybe if they focus fire into one, but the villagers come out to keep him alive. And now, with only Longbowman left, you might be forced into retreat once more. In fact, look how quick the Man-at-Arms go. 1.24, of course, faster once they get in the charge formation. And it looks like the Monk is going to be clubbed around the face with a mace to his death. Say that. Ooh, good save. Good micro coming out from Beastie. This is actually really good. He's actually getting a lot of attention here. Like, every time you're chasing off these monks, you're not able to easily kill them because they can just pat each other on the head. And it also wastes your Man-at-Arms time. Like, you're not trading out DPS with DPS here. You're just trying to get rid of a chunky front line. And that's why this is working so well. Beastie now back into his base range means he gets the attack speed aura and it juices him up. But look at the villager pool. 27 on the front line. Make that 28. Kazva going for the forward keep. We've seen this backfire before for him, even up against, especially BC, he's tried this against before. This might be the time, though. This foothold could be big for him, but can he get it online? Will he be allowed to do so for free? BC can't afford to give up this area. This is where his secondary TC is as well. He wants to eco boom up, but he needs to buy more time. However, with only one knight coming out, there's no way that you're going to be saying good night to this keep. Kazva is going to establish the foothold. Dominant right inside BC's base to chase in a Man-at-Arms. Pellings don't work that way, my friend. You're looking for horses, not dogs. And these dogs of war have been unleashed. Straight on top of the Lombos, chasing into the eco lines. Keep has been established on the forefront for Kazva. A bolstered point from which he can start to siege in with the trebuchets. And you can start to feel like the curtains are closing for BC. No way to bounce back against this right now. He doesn't have any staging point. He doesn't have any sort of counter raid he can run himself. Everything has been reactionary for the last few minutes, and Kazva has been relentless in his military push. Yes, he's down at 20, but it's a chunky 20. A chunky 20 that, well, BC can never get through because he only went to Lombos. He has no sort of anti-armor unit that can address the Man-at-Arms push. No way of pushing this away. And with both landmarks in range of the trebuchets, BC will waste no time calling GG. Really, really good hold from Kazva. That was damn impressive, actually. He was getting impressed on multiple fronts. I have to give credit to BC where credit is due at the beginning of that game. He locked him in. Like, honestly, he locked him in for a way that the key. He said that's a month in solitary confinement for you, bud. But Kazva, he composed himself. He took it inside. You know, the month finishes. He gets the door open. He walks out into the sunlight. And immediately the first thing he thinks is, I'm going to kill that beastie guy. That doesn't think about his freedom. He's like, yay, I feel good. I'm just going to eco boom in every direction. I'm going to grab the relics. Yes, he does reestablish his eco control, but he instantly starts pushing forward. This is the cool thing about Kazva. The patience, the timing. He understands how to counter these. Like, a lot of players would have got a little bit brash, a little bit rushy. They would have came out too soon, and they would have paid the ultimate price because BC was pretty on point with his timings. However, what Kazva identified is, although he's going to lose his primary TC, his secondary was never dealt with. The Trebs can't wheel around there, so he'll at least float additional villager value that he already maintained. And on top of that, the composition that BC's running, while it is a slow, methodical siege, it cannot instantly end the game. You can always react to it in time. The way you lose this matchup with the way that BC's built is if you rush the solution. Kazva doesn't do that, though. He patiently builds up enough Springles. He rushes out with enough Man-at-Arms to overwhelm the defenses and actually very slowly builds up enough Trebs to get through the 4 defenses. Understanding that he has emergency repairs and also villagers at home, BC only has a finite amount of villagers to repair on the front line. And also because BC's playing the English, he's pushing a lot of Trebs and Lombos and is only 1 TC, he can't really afford to keep having those villagers AFK from his eco to repair. And it means it's only a matter of time before he surrenders the front line, and only a matter of time before he surrenders the game with the way that Kazma played this.